Every race weekend, we get to see more of the Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez situation at Red Bull, and the most recent Miami Grand Prix, a rather tainted picture was painted. Things seem to not be going very well for Perez, which has led to speculation that his future at Red Bull is at risk. And with the claims of impeding shakeups at Red Bull that Ralf Schumacher has made, Perez ought to be worried. Keep watching and you'll find out some more. The Miami qualifying was quite interesting to watch, as lap times from the drivers were very close, and that meant everyone was pushing themselves to the limits. Charles Leclerc found the barriers red flagging the last session and untimely crash that caught Verstappen out. He had not yet put any time in, and consequently, he had to start from 9th. Perez, on the other hand, had put in the fastest lap time, so he got pole position. This being a street circuit where Perez excels, the expectation was that he would just disappear from the rest of the grid and win the race. However, predictions from the teams on the tire strategy that would work were very wrong. The medium tire degraded higher than expected, and those that started on hard tire compounds, including Verstappen, seemed to have nailed it. The hard tire first, then the medium tire strategy was what worked that day. The hard tire was working great to the point that we saw Verstappen get the fastest lap on 40-lap-old tires. It's not surprising to say that from 9th, he was up to 2nd in a record 15 laps, even pulling out a double overtake at some point during the race. And it didn't take long to overtake Perez. Verstappen won the race and extended his championship to 14 points lead over Perez. Aside from Max's outstanding performance, something odd actually took place. The radio communications between the two Red Bull drivers and their respective engineers were very different, very day and night, if I may say so. On Max's end, he was constantly being fed information on his pace and how fast he was catching up to Perez. On Perez's end, there was nothing. There was no information about how his teammate was quickly catching up until the very last moment when Max was within striking distance. Anthony Davidson, a Formula One analyst for Sky Sports, picked up on this and questioned why Perez was allowed to drive blind in the Miami Grand Prix while Verstappen received constant updates. Really strange listening to Perez's radio. They haven't told him anything about his fight between himself and Max, whereas on Verstappen's end, it's been constant. We've heard it coming through from his engineer, that constant check on the relative race gap between himself and his teammate. So Perez has been out there, in a way, driving blind. Very odd. It's been too quiet on his radio. It makes one wonder what's really going on at Red Bull. Is there some sort of favoritism towards Verstappen, or is it just a matter of some different communication styles between the two drivers and their respective teams? This isn't the first instance this season where we've been left questioning Red Bull's actions towards their drivers and how one driver seems to be the favorite. Christian Horner, team principal at Red Bull, has made some comments that have further fueled these questions. After Perez's win in Baku, rather than just congratulating Perez for winning, he made sure to emphasize that he won because of the safety car situation that happened. During the race in Baku, Max pitted under the yellow flag, but that soon turned into a safety car, putting him at a disadvantage as he lost track position. Perez, on the other hand, pitted under the safety car, saving him some time. In the opinion of Ralf Schumacher, Max Verstappen and his supporters in the Red Bull team are seeking Perez's replacement as a teammate. Schumacher believes that Verstappen wants Perez to be replaced with a more compliant candidate, if he does not tame his competitiveness and accept his relegated duty as second driver. It's difficult, and from my point of view, it's clear that Verstappen's side wants a new teammate. I hear these rumors everywhere. I see it as a problem that Perez knows. His time at Red Bull Racing will expire. He's fighting for his chance to play up front, to win, to have a say in the title. It's like this. The teammate is always the biggest competitor, and who knows what possibilities there will be later. You can see from Lewis Hamilton how fast it goes. That's why Sergio is now becoming more selfish as far as selfishness goes. Max Verstappen can't complain. Max does it very well. He's rightly number one on the team, but he also clearly defines his territory. Being his teammate is certainly not easy, and I certainly wouldn't have wanted to be. But why would Verstappen want Perez gone, though? The battle for the championship this year seems to be between the Red Bull drivers. Red Bull has been dominant since the season started and has won all of the 5 races so far. Perez has won 2 of those, and Verstappen has won the other 3. Perez has also stated his intention to win the championship and has been putting up a fight against Verstappen. The dynamics at Red Bull are that Verstappen is the lead driver, right? Seeing how good Perez is and how he's even outperformed Verstappen in certain races, it's kind of understandable why Verstappen may feel that Perez poses a, threat to his bid for another world title. It's important to remember that while Perez has, had great performances, he's been lacking on the consistency end. It's a shortcoming that a lot of people, including Horner, have talked about. Horner has mentioned that Perez needs to improve his consistency if he really wants to win the championship. But despite this, Perez has shown that he can perform under pressure. So he's got that, right? And Schumacher, after Azerbaijan Grand Prix, made this statement in his Sky Sports Deutschland column. Sergio was strong in Azerbaijan, and he has the potential, here and there, to be fast for the max. But with a view to the World Championship battle, I don't think he has the consistency of Verstappen. He also makes mistakes under pressure sometimes when he's not happy with the car. Verstappen doesn't make those mistakes, so I think he'll be the better driver over the year. There are many rumors circulating in the paddock about Perez's future. Red Bull would have options. There's Yuki Tsunoda, Daniel Ricciardo is still around, and there's plenty of drivers on the market. If there's a troubled relationship between Verstappen and Perez, then it would make sense to part ways with the Mexican. If you look closely, you can see that the teammates don't get along well, and when a team has two drivers that don't get along, it ends up being a big disadvantage. News of a rift between the two Red Bull drivers emerged the previous season, and tensions between the two just keep growing every day, especially with the state championship this year. And these are just rumors, but at this point, it's not so hard to imagine that Red Bull would let go of Perez. It's no secret that Red Bull has a reputation for being ruthless when it comes to driver decisions, and they have a track record of promoting young talent, so it wouldn't be surprising if they decided to make a change sooner rather than later. Furthermore, there are quite a few options for the team to choose from. First and foremost, we got Ricciardo, the reserve driver at the moment. And he said that all signs point to him being back on the grid next year. The big question is where the signs are pointing that he's going, right? Is it Red Bull? Is it another team? Is it your mom's house? It is hard to tell. Then there's Tsunoda, who's been performing brilliantly and consistently since the season started. And there's also Liam Lawson, a former Formula 2 driver and part of the Red Bull Junior program. Getting a younger driver seems like the way to go at this moment in time for many teams. It's not hard to picture Red Bull taking on a younger driver like Lawson. It's just like how they did with Verstappen, but we've yet to see how that turns out. At the moment, Perez is staying put at Red Bull. He has a contract running until the end of next season, however, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's gonna, stay on the team for long. Formula 1 is a constantly evolving sport, and teams are always looking for ways to improve their performance and gain an edge over their competitors, or in this case, a content second driver. As such, it's entirely possible that Red Bull could decide to part ways with Perez if they feel like another driver would be a better fit for their team. Of course, that's all speculation at this point, and only time will tell what the future actually holds for Perez and the Red Bull team. It's going to be real interesting to see how the dynamic between the two drivers plays out throughout the rest of the season. Will Verstappen maintain his lead, or will Perez continue to close the gap and potentially even take the championship? Let us know in the comment section down below. And yeah, that marks the end of the video for today. I really have nothing else to say. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, subscribe to the channel for more amazing F1 content. Till next time, cheers!